Every other Mets game is like cultural something night. Bring your dog night. Yeah.
All right, I guess the stream.
They don't have white people night at the baseball stadium.
Yeah. There's not anymore. All right. I guess we're live. And mute the desktop. It's Thursday, August 17th, 2017. I'm Rim.
That was good.
And this is Geek Nights. Tonight we're talking about cars, that thing we don't like anymore. So I come home today, and I'm looking at some YouTube stats while I'm just setting stuff up, and a whole bunch of our videos got flagged as not monetizable because they're not advertiser friendly. Which, basically, as far as I can read, that only applies to extreme vulgarity, like racism, like the sexy stuff. And I thought, oh crap, the automatic filter or whatever, maybe we swear too much. But then I went and looked at what videos were flagged, and it's like the most random selection of like the most inoffensive possible. Like one of them is me playing Overwatch silently for like 20 minutes.
Yeah, you can't advertise on something that's as Blizzard's content in it.
Oh, no, you can. You totally can. Because all my other Overwatch videos weren't flagged, just that one.
Oh, that's an AI that's doing it. It's not doing a good job.
So, and then another one was like one of our live stream shows. I was like, oh.
How much are you making that much YouTube money on that video? You just
actually, my YouTube money at this point covers the Libsyn costs completely.
All right, well, then dispute it then.
Yeah, so basically
get your 30 cents more YouTube money from that video.
Oh, one of them was a video that has one view that I guess it was one of those live streams that failed, and I guess I made it unlisted, but it was monetized by default, and I guess, nope, that video is really offensive.
Well, it's probably that no one wants to buy ads on a 1-second video.
Oh, see, I thought that. I thought maybe it's something like that, but I looked at the list of things that will flag a video like this, and that's not the kind of thing that flags it. It's specifically things that advertisers would be uncomfortable with, not things that are not likely to be watched.
Well, maybe they, the YouTube code that does this is not so great.
Yeah, exactly. So it's interesting. So I disputed a couple because it's not like the copyright thing where I have to like write a legally binding document and sign it. You click a button and it's like, okay. So we'll see. I'm going to poke around with that.
I don't care about any YouTube money, so I ignore that nonsense.
It's paying for the Libsyn, though, so I'm going to let it keep paying for the Libsyn. Also, I assume anyone smart has ad block and doesn't see ads, so.
I have YouTube Red. I don't see ads.
Yeah.
Even if I use the YouTube app on my iPad, which, has no ad blocker in it.
Yeah, I currently do not actually pay for YouTube Red because I don't watch, like when I watch YouTube lately, it's pretty much just like videos of cockatoos doing things or DuckTales.
I watch mostly YouTube, and also not only does it remove all ads from YouTube, you also get Google Play Music for free. So
yeah, but
I stopped paying for I was paying for Amazon Music. Now I'm not.
But I pay for the Amazon Music. I use it a lot with the Sonos.
I stopped playing the Amazon Music, and I started paying for the Google Music instead. And now I'm saving money because the YouTube Red is cheaper than the Amazon Music.
What I watch the most of these days is actually Netflix. Like, I've been using my Netflix a lot. It's good stuff.
I'm at South Park season real soon, so it's going to be Hulu time.
Yeah, but so Little Witch Academia season 2 is out now.
Yeah, I'm going to watch it at some point.
It's real good.
I know.
I've watched enough to where
who doesn't know that?
But now I know for sure.
This gold is real valuable. This steak is delicious.
It might look like gold.
This water is real wet.
It might be a gilded turd. There might be poop in there.
This water's so wet. Oh man.
I mean, everyone on Earth said that Ready Player One was going to be the best book I'd ever read, and then I flipped through it and I learned the horrible truth.
I read the whole book.
I did not. So why did you read it?
I was way back in the day. It was like Beacon days, I think.
So anyway, we got a bunch of random news because it's Thursday. It's like, the lounge on Geek Nights. Talk about anything we want. And Scott linked this to me earlier, and it's just sort of an interesting idea. I don't really want to talk about the details of this so much, but the idea...
Well, I think the deal is this was a startup, and their price was $50 a month, and the price went down to
$50 a month is way too much.
The price went down to $10 a month, and that's like crazy for what they give you.
Yeah, but the idea is to pay like $10 a month, and then you can just go to the movie theater as much as you want. It's like
not as much as you want. It's once a day.
Yeah. Well,
which is as much as you want. Who goes to the movies more than once in one day?
You know who? I can see a situation where I would do that if I were homeless.
Sure.
I might pay the $10 a month to basically be rent.
The problem is if you're homeless, you want to be in a city because where there's more help for homeless people. But if you're in a city, movie theater's more expensive.
But if I only got to pay $10 a month, then I'd sleep in the movie theater all day, just shuffling between, pick the longest movie and sit in the back, and every time the movie ends, just move to another movie.
Yeah, so that's exactly the problem with this service, is it lets you go to like the big time cinema chains, AMC. I think it goes like AMC, Regal, those type of places, right? But I don't go to those movies ever, like once a year for Star Wars.
Emily and I go to them like, I don't know, maybe every other month. Yeah. But yeah, I usually want to go to like what we'd see at the Angelica or like.
Right, and this isn't going to let me go there. Just like a week ago, I went to go see Lawrence of Arabia in 70mm at the Museum of the Moving Image. And it's like, first of all, I was surprised that many people were there to see something that's 4 hours long. Second of all, obviously this service would not have gotten me a ticket to that, right?
Yep, and that's
so it's completely worthless to me because that's the only kind of thing I'm interested in going to the theater for. If something's playing in a Regal or a major cinema chain, then it's gonna be streaming on a major service within like a few months. So and I go to those kinds of movies once or twice a year. And even though
even more important,
maybe I could sign up. Can I sign up for this service in the month I'm going to go to the theater, right? So if it's a ticket,
$10 is already like less than a movie ticket.
If a ticket to see Star Wars is $15, I can sign up for this in December, see Star Wars, then cancel before January and get $5 off my Star Wars ticket.
The problem with this business model is it says here that MoviePass, the people who do it, quote, will pay theaters the full price of each ticket used by subscribers.
Yeah, they're using some VC's money to pay the difference.
Yeah, so does any VC...
Or selling your data to make money to make up the difference.
Does any VC want to invest in Geek Nights? Because I promise we will waste that money.
I promise I will not buy a tropical island and live on it with your money and not do any business.
We will waste that money so fast.
I promise to actually incorporate a business and do something that may or may not be profitable.
But like most of the time I want to go to a theater, I want to go to like Nighthawk or something, like the place that serves food and drinks.
Yeah, I think this gets you regular movie ticket.
I can't imagine it excludes 3D and IMAX. So.
Yeah, I can't imagine this giving you the fancy 3D IMAX choose your seat reclining kind of movie theater, right? It's going to give you regular old seat and regular old 2D theater.
Yeah, I'm basically completely uninterested in going to a movie theater unless either it has predetermined assigned seating, or like I want to pick my seat, but well in advance, so I can just show up right when the movie starts. There's no lines. I'm not gonna get there early and sit there forever. Or it has to be a theater that serves like booze and food.
Yeah, and this also isn't going to help you out with any food or anything, which at movie theaters is expensive, so that's not a place you want to go often.
Yeah. So I feel like this kind of service is actually
if you're already the kind of person, there are people who are like so into movies, they're just constantly fucking going there. For them, this is amazing. And for anyone else, like it's even this ridiculous discount where a month going to the movie 30 times in a month, once a day for the price less than the price of going once is still bad for.
I mean, $10, it costs less than some streaming services. So.
Like, how many people go to the movies once a month?
When I was a kid, we went to the movies like every other week.
I did not.
But remember, back then...
Maybe once every other month.
I mean, what was my option? My 240p TV or go to the theater. It's not like HD existed yet in homes when I was a kid.
Like maybe in high school, we went the most often, and that was like maybe once every other month.
So, in some other news you might know, if you live in North America, an eclipse is coming real soon.
Which kind of eclipse? The solar kind or the lunar kind?
Solar. This might be the...
I'm pretty sure we're not going to see another lunar one for a long-ass time, right?
But the solar one is interesting because I don't think I've ever been in a place where a total solar eclipse was, like, nearby.
I don't...
Ever.
My memory is worthless, but I do remember seeing an eclipse, a solar eclipse, at my house in Connecticut.
But this one's notable because the path of...
that may be just a bunch of bullshit.
The path of totality goes, like, right across the middle of the U.S. Like, a lot of people in America, like the U.S. specifically, can see a complete and total solar eclipse. It's only going to be about 50-60% where we are, which is fine because solar eclipses are really weird and eerie because it just, like, gets dark and animals freak out. But The news is not that. The news is one, if you want to look at it and you don't already have special glasses, it's too late. Amazon is literally sold out. Like, completely. And two,
you just make a box with a hole in it.
no, that's a shitty way to look at an eclipse.
Who says?
Me. There's way better ways
Have
to
you
see
ever used the
eclipses.
box with a hole in it?
Have you ever used real solar eclipse glasses?
The box with the hole in it is pretty cool.
Solar eclipse
It's like it
glasses.
seems lame, but actually it's pretty sweet.
The glasses, one, you can see it in color instead of just a shadow. And two, you look directly.
What's the color? White, yellow.
No, it'll shift. Like, it'll look like orange or red.
Uh-huh.
And these glasses, you can just look directly at the sun. But
Well, you could just get a welding glass and hold it in front of your face.
they're similar. But the problem is, because the eclipse is coming through the U.S., there's a lot of bootleg glasses out there. So my warning to all of you is one, don't look at the sun. And that advice does not matter whether or not there is an eclipse, because the sun will fuck up your eyes. And if there's an eclipse, it fucks them up just as fast, but it doesn't hurt, so you won't realize it. You could look straight at the sun and think, wow, that's cool. You're going to blind yourself. Two, if you look through your eclipse glasses at anything other than the sun and you can see anything, your eclipse glasses are fake. There's a lot of bootlegs out there. So yeah, eclipse. The other reason I bring this up is literally the other day I'm sitting at work and I said something eclipse. No one knew an eclipse was coming. Like, no one.
I've just seen news about the eclipse
For
pretty
like
much
6 months?
Every day for like a few weeks now. There's news about the eclipse in some feed somewhere.
Yeah, I realize there's a ton of people who just do not know.
Compared to the last time there was an eclipse, people are way high on this eclipse.
I mean, imagine the person in like Tennessee, because it looks like he's going to go right through Tennessee, who's just like sitting in their yard drinking a beer and they don't know, and then the sun just goes out.
How about the caveman back in the day? The sun would just go out.
Uh-oh, dogs found religion. Call the cops. So
Don't look at the sun. Why do you need to be told not to look at the
yeah,
sun?
I feel like 2017 told me that there's some. It's like, don't poop your pants.
Unless you're a small-
Don't be a
unless
Nazi.
you're a small
Don't look directly at the sun.
unless you're a small child who doesn't know better, you don't need to be told not to look at the sun. And by the way, if you have children,
Do not let them be outside alone during the eclipse, because they
Don't-
will look at the sun.
don't let them look at the sun.
But like, seriously, if you have kids, don't let them be outside alone during the eclipse. Like, I'm serious. They will look at the sun and fuck up their eyes.
Also, maybe your dog will too.
No, animals get freaked out by it. They don't look at the sun. They usually run away.
You never know. It can't hurt to keep them indoors.
So you got any
Away-
news yourself?
Do I have a news? That is.
I pulled it up already. It's this thing.
Oh, yeah, right. So, you know, when you're looking for a job and you're not looking in Europe or something where they have reasonable mandatory vacation plans mandated by the government of like 40-something days or some shit, right? In the U.S., you get almost no vacation days. You
If
get,
you're
you get pretty
lucky,
much less than every other civilized country.
if you're lucky, like the best you're gonna get in a normal company in the U.S. is 20 days plus holidays plus unlimited sick days. That's like the best deal you're gonna get.
That's like a good deal.
And if you work there for 10 years
relative
or 20 years,
to the U.S.,
like you'll get 25 days instead of 20.
Whoa. Anyway, so you always read a story about like, oh, this place actually everyone telecommutes, everyone works from home, they actually have unlimited vacation, they actually have, and the thing is, first of all, unlimited vacation is bullshit, because what happens with unlimited vacation in reality is people end up like not afraid to use it. And also, some people are competitive. Like, I got to outwork the other people. And
Yep.
you end up, it's like, you think, oh, I have unlimited vacation. That means I could just, like, go to a tropical island for a month. No one does. Right? So unlimited vacation's bullshit.
Now,
right?
I would say it's only bullshit because of poor management. A well-run company, people would use that vacation and the company would still make money.
It's never, apparently, the evidence is that when you have unlimited vacation policies, people just don't use them.
Yep.
They'll use, like, less days than if you gave them a set number of days.
And then there's probably another class of person who literally just never comes to the office again.
Yeah, that's me, and then they get fired. Anyway, so, and you can never when you're looking for a job, you can never actually find any of these places. I think they're just made up places for articles, and they're never hiring anyone. And these companies have like 5 employees. But anyway, here's a story that I assume is about a made-up company and isn't real. But supposedly this...
Mandatory vacation is not that. There are places that do that. I've worked with people who worked in places like that.
Well, how come they're not hiring? Let me work there.
So it's a lot of Wall Street companies, and the rationale, sometimes it's a compliance thing. if a trader, like you think about a truck driver gets tired because they work too hard and they fall asleep at the wheel, they can cause serious damage. So there's laws. You can only drive so much in a day and in a week and all that stuff. For certain kinds of trading jobs, same deal. You can't get overworked. You've got to take a certain amount of vacation a year, and you're not like some of these places will literally like you have to leave your BlackBerry at work and they lock your account out so you can't check work email.
Right. So here's what this place does, supposedly, right? Whatever company this is the way they did the mandatory vacation is they said it wasn't even like you must take this many days. It was every X week. I think it was 7 or 8 weeks. You must take a week off. Like you only work for that number of weeks, and then they schedule in advance. Like this week you're not working. This week you're not working. This week you're not working. And then, so you're forced to not work those weeks. But wait, what if that person just like you said, tries to check their work email? They got something even better than turning off your BlackBerry or leaving it at work.
Yeah.
Right. If you check a work email or do anything like that, you don't get paid for that vacation week. And you just don't get paid. So you're like afraid to even call into work or go to the office or anything because that's going to cost you presumably a lot of money, hundreds or even $1,000. And who knows how much you get paid, right? But 1/52nd, your salary divided by 52 is still a lot of freaking money for pretty much anyone, right? It's just because it's percentage based, right? It's a week of work no matter how much money you make. So you don't want to lose that. So this is pretty great. And company, wherever you are, hire me. I have skills.
Well, I mean,
if anyone knows any companies that are actual companies that are actually like this, that are hiring and aren't just made up companies to write articles about, because I have not once in my entire life actually seen like a job post at any company with any sort of remote working or, mandatory vacation or any of these things, or, work whenever you work the number of hours you need to work, however many that is. I've never actually seen a real place that does that. I've only seen articles talking about this bullshit. If anyone knows a real place that does that, point me at it.
So tangentially, I've worked at many places that have the similar but related concept of unlimited sick days.
I don't have unlimited sick days, but I have the sick days, unlike the vacation days, don't reset every year. So I have like a zillion sick days.
That's cool.
If I got way sick, I
could... unlimited, if you're an employer, is better. Because one, no one's going to come into the office and get everybody sick. And two, people aren't just going to use all the sick days you give them every year as vacation days because they don't get enough vacation. So people will take real vacations because they won't be afraid of wasting their days on sick, and they'll stay home when they have the flu. I cannot, it's night and day, the places I worked that did that and the places I worked that didn't, and how often the entire office would get sick. So, there's some other news. Millennials are killing everything, and I don't want to go too in depth in this, but there's a really funny set of sentences in this.
That's always like a meme these days.
Yeah,
like,
that's
oh
why
my God, millennials are killing whatever. But you know what? Anything I've seen, either a parody or a real article saying millennials are killing X.
Yep.
X is always something I want to die, and
Yeah.
I'm perfectly I've never seen someone write like, oh, millennials are killing something that Scott wants to stick around. I've never, like, millennials are killing all the pretty fishies, or millennials...
It's always like millennials
are killing all the delicious fruits, or... I've never seen any article, fake or real, saying that. It's always millennials are killing X, and whether it's a parody article or a real article, it's always like, yeah, kill X, fuck X, yeah, kill it.
So... Applebees, if you're not aware...
Yeah, kill Applebees, fuck them.
If you don't live in the U.S...
We ate there a lot in college days, but they're garbage.
Yeah, but you know why we ate there a lot? Because one...
That's where people went. We didn't have money, and there was nowhere else to go.
When we went, that Applebees had a policy where they would sell all their appetizers half off after like 10 o'clock at night on this like weeknight.
And we were po.
So we would go there, and as a group, probably order like 17 or 18 appetizers and no actual food. But Applebee's is not a restaurant so much as a microwave. They just have bags of food that they microwave and bring to you. Like don't look into how Applebee's works. You'll feel real bad.
I mean, all those restaurants pretty much work the same way. The food is largely, to a great extent, pre-prepared.
The difference between all of them...
There's not any real chefs back there. It's, it's basically...
usually there's centralized chefing warehouses that pre-make the food and ship it to the restaurants already ready to go.
Right, and the people at the restaurants are basically not any more skilled than, say, fast food workers who just assemble the food following instructions. It's a little more complicated than putting together a McDonald's burger, but not much.
Yeah, it's less complicated than like a Blue Apron.
Yeah, definitely.
But the only difference between like Applebee's, TGI Fridays, Ruby Tuesday,
They're all the same restaurant as far as I'm concerned.
the branding is different. The
Yeah.
demographic they go after is different.
They're owned by different. Some of them are owned by different companies. Some of them are owned by the same company, but they're all basically the same food with different menus, different styles, but the same damn thing.
So Applebee's is like shutting a ton of stores and
good,
consolidating.
because no one's going there. Good.
And apparently the same company owns IHOP, and IHOP's not doing well either.
IHOP has never been doing well. Even
Well,
when I was young and
The best item on the IHOP menu is fist fights.
Like when I was a kid, I really wanted to go to IHOP.
So did I.
I was like, oh my god, pancakes! Oh my
Remember
god.
when the one came by RIT and we were like, oh shit,
It was
IHOP.
hard. It was hard to find IHOP because they were always going out of business and not doing well. Even when I was very young,
Yeah.
we'd go to diners and shit instead.
Well, and I remember we wouldn't go to IHOPs because people were like, yeah, there'll be fist fights because, yeah, there's fist fights in IHOPs.
I don't know why.
I know why, but
Anyway.
I got another news that's related to why there are fist fights at IHOPs.
Mm-hmm.
But so Applebee's, rather than just taking it like a noble warrior and dying of their wound in glory, they have a plan to stay alive. And it's kind of amazing because they basically decided that our friend Skojo, his dad, that is the exact kind of person that they can milk money from forever.
Yeah, that's the kind of person who will eat at Applebee's. The person
So-
who doesn't taste food, is very picky, only wants to eat meat and potatoes and nothing
I have
else.
a quote. This is literally
The whitey white people.
the strategy of who Applebee's is going to go after.
But isn't that's already their strategy? That's the strategy of all these
Oh
restaurants.
no, but how they're doing it, this is amazing. In my perspective, this is a quote from the article from Applebee's, I think. The pursuit being trying to go after millennials who have a more sophisticated dining mindset, led to decisions that, quote, created confusion among core guests.
Yeah. Whitey white
Drifting
people.
away from what I'll call its middle America roots. So basically, they added arugula to the menu, and middle-class American white people were like, what the fuck is that? And they got confused.
Mm-hmm.
So, quote,
Arugula, the best of all lettuces.
moving forward, yeah, it's spicy. It's got like it's good stuff.
The best all lettuce.
I don't make a pure arugula salad, though. You sprinkle that in with some
No.
other
You
lettuces.
got to buy a mix, but,
Yeah.
it's still the best lettuce.
Quote, moving forward, they said that Applebee's will focus on routine traditionalists who actually enjoy casual dining chains
Yeah.
and have favorite menu items.
I mean, that's Applebee's will just.
They even know. They say the words actually enjoy.
I mean,
they're
that-
like, let's find people who actually eat this shit and like market
but
to them
that's
exclusively.
what they already been doing their whole existence.
No, they were trying to expand into people who have taste buds, and they realized that will scare away their non-taste bud demographic.
I mean, you just make a new if you want to get people who actually have taste buds, you have to make a new restaurant with a new brand so you don't know that it's
Yeah,
Applebee's.
take Applebee's,
Right? For
have the same
example-
shit food, but call it like artisanal beef burger.
Well, I mean,
and
for
locally
example,
grown
Imagine
IPA.
if Shake
Imperial
Shack
Double.
was not a separate business. Imagine if
I still wouldn't eat there. Shake Shack's not that good.
I'm just saying, but people who have, people eat there, right? People who will refuse to eat at McDonald's go to Shake Shack, right? If you were McDonald's, you could just use your McDonald's money and open up Shake Shacks, assuming or you make up a new thing, right? Imagine if Chipotle wasn't actually its own thing. If Chipotle had just been a thing that Taco Bell came up with, and it was owned by Taco Bell, and they just
But there's a big difference.
instead
So
of opening up Taco Bells, they started opening up fancier thing with
that
a new
sector,
brand.
the so-called fast casual, like Chipotle is basically in that category. They're doing better, not because of branding or anything, but because I guess young people with taste buds just want better food, and that kind of food, while it's not great, is actually prepared.
Yeah,
Like it's not just a bag of
you can
mush.
see them prepared.
Yeah, and it's prepared very simply. But I feel like what's killing
If Applebee's wanted to get money from different people, they could just use their money instead of opening up an Applebee's, make up a new brand, right? And make have arugula there.
their value prop is the super mass produced food, and I think the real problem.
I mean,
for all
Olive
these
Garden
chains,
owns Capitol Grill, and Capitol Grill's great, and Olive Garden's garbage, right?
Yeah,
it
but at
happens
the
all
same time, Capitol Grill has a much different value proposition and demographic.
Yeah, you need a different. You can't take the existing Applebee's brand.
No, but your argument is just it's
And
too
try
hard.
to-
Applebee's should just make a video game studio and just make games because there's more margins there. Like
No, I'm saying, look, Applebee's.
Applebee's should just take all their money and put it in an index fund.
You can't take your existing Applebee's brand, which has always made food for one kind of person, and suddenly sort of shift it to aim at a different person. That doesn't work, right? So now I guess someone stupid there tried to do that, and now they're just going back.
Yep.
It's not. What's the big deal?
But I feel like the thrust is that because of internet and people and like things like Yelp, people act like even like me and everyone I know, if there's a new restaurant in town, I go check out its reviews and like see what's up with it and see if it's real food. And I don't go back to places that have bad food.
Why would you go to a place of bad food?
Routine traditionalists who actually enjoy eating at casual restaurants.
People who are dying.
So
Old
another
people.
minor news that is interesting and kind of an end of an era, Chuck E. Cheese's isn't doing well either.
No, why would it be?
So if you're not familiar, Chuck E. Cheese's, much like Major Magic's in the U.S., if that even still exists, is a chain of places where families can take their children to lose them and then get into fistfights with other families while eating terrible pizza.
Mm-hmm.
That's basically the service they provide. And the showcase of all these kinds of restaurant, quote-unquote arcade restaurants
The ball pit.
was the animatronics on stage. That's what Five Nights at Freddy's was making fun of.
Mm-hmm.
Chuck E. Cheese's is trying to rebrand, so they're getting rid of a lot of the old animatronics. They're retiring them, and what they're
Yeah,
doing...
kids don't give a shit about that stuff.
Oh, yeah, but what they're doing is even worse. Chuck E. Cheese plans to modernize several restaurants by toning down its wacky, colorful design, removing animatronics, and adding dance floors where humans dressed as the eponymous rodent will come out and dance with children.
All right.
I don't really think that children ever wanted to go to a Chuck E. Cheese's to dance.
No, they
When I was
want to
a
play. They're
kid-
just there to play
yeah,
games.
because there aren't arcades anymore. So when I was a kid, I wanted to go to a Chuck
but
E.
Chuck E.
Cheese's.
Cheese's only have crane games now.
Yeah, and fistfights.
Even we went to Dave & Buster's, right? So I went to a Dave & Buster's recently, like within a month.
It had like one almost playable game.
No,
and a
no,
bunch of
and when
crane
I
games.
went to that Dave & Buster's in the Palisades when it was brand new and when it was one of the only Dave & Buster's that existed. And when I went to it in those days, right, it had fancy pool tables. It had, the shuffleboard, table shuffleboard.
Oh yeah, that's good stuff.
Right? It had laser tag that was relatively high quality.
I mean, it wasn't Qzar, but
It was relatively high quality laser tag. It was, it wasn't the greatest, but it was there, right? And it had all these legit arcade games like, Time Crisis and DDRs and like all the Street Fighters, Pac-Man, all the legit arcade games that you expect,
nope.
right? And when you were standing at any arcade game, there was a little switch you could flick, and if you flick the switch, wait service would come to the arcade machine and ask you what you wanted to drink or eat, and then bring it to you so you could eat or drink. And they even had cup holders on the machines and everything.
I feel like within 10 years, something like that could be remade in some capacity
So,
to target people like
in
us.
between that time, which was in, I guess, the late 90s, and now, the 2017, that Dave & Buster's is still there, same exact location. There's no laser tag there. They still had the shuffleboard tables and the pool tables. However, there were basically no real arcade games to speak of. The only real arcade games they had were a pump it up, no DDR, and just one of them. And if you looked at the pricing to play this pump, right, or pretty much every game was ridiculously overpriced because you had to basically get a card, put money on the card, and I did math on my phone to figure out like how much these games actually cost to play. They had one air hockey that was a good air hockey, right? It was basically like $2 to play this air hockey, $2 plus.
Man, I remember when I was a kid, arcade games were a quarter. A new arcade game was 75. Like Mortal Kombat was 75 cents when it first came.
Yep. To play, there was one Ms. Pac-Man Galaga machine.
And a game that moved cost $1.
It cost over $1 to play one round of Ms. Pac-Man / Galaga, right? They didn't have there was not a single fighting game there. There was the Mario Kart arcade game, which cost like multiple dollars to play once.
Also, to be honest, when I finally played that Mario Kart arcade game, it's not good.
It's actually, if you look at it, it kind of is good. The problem is, in order to, it's actually a Japanese arcade machine, which is weird that it's in the US.
It could be almost good if you played it with people.
Yeah, it's meant for you to play it like constantly, like go to the game center after school every day and keep playing Mario
Like the Initial
Kart.
D game that I would do that if I could.
It's actually a real Japanese arcade machine, not the kind of thing you want in a Dave & Buster's that costs like multiple dollars to play even just one race. Every single other machine in the place was basically gambling for children. But actually, I think it's weird, right? How it's like, if we have gambling in a casino, where you put down $1 on the craps table, and you could win real money or lose your dollar, most likely, right? That is perfectly okay.
I do not know legally exactly why those are different.
It's only for adults that this is allowed, right? Children cannot do this. Only people who are 18.
But look, in Wildwood, little kids can like get tickets and win a TV.
Right, yet you go, and here in the Dave & Buster's, they have what's basically a gambling machine, right? Skee ball is gambling, or, you know, there's some skill involved, but not really, right? And you put your money in, and you gamble, and like, there's like a real good examples. They had like a deal or no deal machine, right? And it's like you put in real money, and the only thing that can come out is tickets, right? Even if you lose, no tickets come out. If you win, tickets come out. But your money is gone no matter what. It's gambling with 100% chance of losing, right? At least at the casino, you have a non-0% chance of losing, even though it's, you know, a really high chance of losing.
So I remember coming to a terrible realization as a kid.
It's 100% chance of losing your money, and all you're going to get is maybe some worthless plastic garbage, right?
So as a kid,
with your tickets, if you get any tickets.
Would go to the arcade, and like I get tickets in the course of playing even some real games. I didn't really care about them. But then I realized
I'd get a plastic frog and some candy on my way
I realized one day there was one like bullshitty crane type game, and I figured out how to always get the maximum payout.
Cranes, actual cranes, though, are gambling, we know, because they're all rigged.
But this wasn't actually a crane. It was like a roll a quarter, and it lands on a strip.
We were good at, that's the one we used also, because that was the only game where that had the highest ticket to coin ratio.
Yeah, and me and a bunch of kids, we figured out the exact angle.
Yeah,
we got a hot glue gun, and we glued it.
We used tape to tape it in the exact right spot.
We filled the two sides with hot glue.
Because you could get 200 tickets for one token.
In fact, I remember we unplugged. Remember those like hologram games, like the cowboy game or the time travel?
The crappy Sega ones?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We unplugged that machine to plug the glue gun in.
Oh.
And then we glue gunned it. And then the kids start like putting quarters in and like getting the max payout.
Didn't the machine run out of tickets?
Yeah, it ran out of tickets, and the guy had to come over and put more tickets in.
And then you emptied it again?
Well, yeah, they emptied it like 3 or 4 times, and then the guy was like, yeah, this machine's coming out of service. And then the next day, the machine was gone forever. But while the kids were doing this, I didn't put any money in the machine. I calculated that you were basically getting like 4 cents per quarter worth of actual money. So even with the maximum payout,
it's like 200 tickets, you know, gets you this prize. All right, what's the most valuable prize here?
There's always the TV.
It's like a TV.
Get.
The TV is this many tickets. To get that TV, you'd have to put this many tokens in that machine, even if you got the jackpot every time.
So I'm glad I was
You'd be buying
dissuaded.
that TV for this much money. You could buy a TV for less than that at the store.
Yeah, they had a game. I remember they had a Sega Game Gear.
What?
And we already had a Game Gear, but my dream in life was to get a second one.
Daddy 2 Game Gear.
Because it had a link cable thing that I was never able to use.
Only one game used, maybe.
What used it? There was so that Advance Wars like game, Crystal Warriors.
For the original Game Boy, the only games I ever remember using the link cable.
Hunt for Red October. Holy shit, was that a good game with the link cable?
Was that? There was an F1 racing game.
Yep, that game was pretty good.
And Pokemon.
Yep.
And F1 racing game was like the game that they launched with the 4-way Game Boy thing. Like that was the game that was meant to go with it. That was like the Crystal Chronicles of that thing.
That Game Boy.
There were only 3 games I remember ever using it. Maybe there was another one I don't remember.
That Game Gear would have cost, in the best case scenario, like $600 to win. So yeah. All right, that's all the news is. Oh, there's a bunch of people chatting in here. There's like a lot of chat.
Sad people.
All right. Things of the day first. But anyway, things of the day. What do you got?
So, you know, we always enjoy a good old fight or a good old sporting event when someone gets some comeuppance. Right? So I found this video I came across today is various sporting events, most of them fights, because, you know, but some of them also football and other basketball and whatnot, where
the first one is so good.
No, the soccer one is the best one. Where you have one athlete taunting the other athlete, saying, What? Oh, I'm so great. Oh, right? To, you know, the game is on, but they're spending time in the game to say, show me your moves, or I'm better than you. Look, I can do some bullshit.
Oh, that football one?
There's a lot of, right?
Oh, he's still dancing. He doesn't know what happened.
But anyway, I saw that.
Boom!
Yeah, that's piece of shit DJX. Anyway, so here are many. There's a compilation here, not just one. One of these would be enough to be thing of the day, but this is a whole compilation, right, of instances you may have seen. I've seen some of these before.
Yep.
Where one player taunts another player, and then, or perhaps someone in the crowd taunts somebody, and then comeuppance.
This is a good thing.
So it's very satisfying. You get how many minutes of comeuppance here?
Almost 4.
Whoa!
And for a YouTube compilation, that's a long one.
And the soccer one's the best one.
So I found this essay a while ago, and I kept forgetting about it, but it's really, really fascinating, and it is titled Alternative Endings in Danish and Russian Silent Film.
Was this like a silent movie that had different endings in
no.
different
This
countries?
is so, I'm going to read.
Or different times they screened it, they showed different endings?
So I'm going to read the entire first paragraph of the introduction because that's the only way it describes it well. This paper is so fascinating. Bear with, I'm just going to read this. Toward the beginning of the last century, film companies began producing and exporting alternative endings for different national markets, drawing on stereotypes to create a film narrative that would satisfy the imagined
so it's the first thing
foreign audience.
It's the first thing I said, where the different countries got different movies.
Yeah, so like, ooh, the Russian people are sad. Let's have sad endings.
Mm-hmm.
At the center of this study are 2 countries, Denmark and Russia, who were to exchange specially adapted endings in the 1910s until the Russian Revolution in 1917 was severely restrict trade and everything got messed up. In both cases, the endings consist of a final scene in which the fate of the characters is altered. This meant that Danish actors would often come to a tragic or fatal end on the Russian screen when they had a happy resolution in other markets, such as the UK, US, Denmark, Sweden. Meanwhile, Russian film companies would retain the inevitable end for the domestic audience, but produce alternative happy endings for Western spectators of the same film. Russian movies ended in fatal tragedy, but they'd have a happy ending for like the US or Denmark.
So there's this stereotype, I guess, that must have existed, saying that Russian people wanted to see sad
But the Russian
endings.
people made this for themselves, too. It wasn't just like dumb Americans don't understand the world and make different endings. Russia made different endings for itself as well.
The thing is, was there perhaps a chicken egg cause and effect situation where actually showing them sad endings
know? So
made Russians sad?
So you want to know the deal?
Mm-hmm.
Read this essay. This is a fully researched paper that explains literally every aspect of this. It is really, really, really fascinating.
So the Russians and other people made the Russians more sad by showing them tragedies?
Read your essay.
And made everyone else stupid by showing them happy endings?
I haven't even finished it yet. I only read like the first 10 or 11 pages, but this is super...
If some of these movies are still available in some form, do they include both endings on the DVD or Blu-ray or whatever?
I have no idea. Though
like Clue, the movie on DVD?
There's a couple of old Buster Keaton movies that I'm gonna watch soon because I learned about them and they're interesting, but I digress.
I've seen quite a few of them. I don't know if I've seen them all.
Yeah. So anyway, in the meta moment, our forum, the Geek Nights community, we upgraded it a while ago. So if you were an old-time listener of Geek Nights, you stopped going to our awesome forum, that entire thing is archived in stasis in perpetuity.
Yeah, so
hundreds of thousands of posts.
All of the public components of the old forum, right, are visible on the internet. Not perfectly, but all the content is there for you to go and look at. We're going to keep it there frozen in time like Captain America, right?
But our new forum...
And if you have a login for the old forum, you can still log in if you want to see like your direct messages to other people and stuff like that. I guess they're still in there somewhere. But you cannot make any new content on the old forum. Right? We did this a while ago. The new forum is new.
It's rocking.
We finally got people to go to it. So because we mentioned it, so we're going to keep mentioning it to hopefully keep more people going to it.
So if you're listening to these words, that probably means that you'd have a lot in common with other people who listen to these words. And our forum is kind of known, at least for the people who've gone to it, for being if not an ivory tower, then at least
a beige tower,
a slightly less poop-filled tower that's slightly above the poop line of the internet.
So you want to go to our website, frontrecruit.com, and at the top of the website is a link like community or forum or whatever. You click on that shit and then sign up. The thing you need to know is that when you sign up, there's going to be a box, and that box is going to say, why are you joining? And a lot of people fill in that box. Someone filled in that box today, and they wrote something that was so obvious that was the person who knew who they were, so I said approve. But somebody else filled it out, and they were just like, I want to have discussions with like-minded people. And now that seems like a sentence that is clearly answering the question.
As do I, fellow children.
And it is an answer in that box that you're pretty sure like a bot wouldn't write that, right? However, that sentence didn't tell me anything to prove that this was a person who listens to Geek Nights and knows who we are, right? You need to write something in that box so that I know that if you had deleted your application and you didn't get into the forum, try again and write something in that box that's better this time, right? Something that lets me know that you are someone who is actually in our community and not just a random internet person or bot.
Now, if you're not sure,
you could even write, for example, if you wrote something like Rim is a doo-doo head, it's like, oh, this is a person who knows what Geek Nights is, right?
The bot's not going to figure out to put the word Rim in there.
Right. If someone wrote something like, I want to insult Scott a whole bunch, it's like, oh, I know this is a person who knows what the deal is. I'll approve that, right?
So what I'm going to link to.
But if you say, I want to talk about video games, it's like, well, I don't know. You could just be, so who knows who you are.
If you're not sure if you want to deal with this forum, what I'm actually going to link to is the rules of our forum, and you can just go to the site. One, we updated them recently, so I kind of want people who haven't read them in a long time to read them. But two, these rules will tell you exactly what kind of community we have. And as much as I love both PAX and Penny Arcade, their forums are something.
Well, there's definitely worse forums than theirs.
Oh, yeah, there are worse forums, but I wouldn't go to those forums either.
Mm-hmm.
Our forum is a place that I would hang out at, and I do hang out at.
Right, and the other thing about our forum is that all the content in it is actually public on the internet. So, unless private messages and shit, which I guess are in there somewhere. I don't use those. But so if you don't want to make an account, you can just read and lurk without having to do any account making or anything, all you want.
But if you make the account, it'll keep track of how far you read into the 400 post fruit thread.
Yeah, it's useful to make an account even if you don't post anything, because then it's easier to mark things as read and see when there's new posts and that sort of thing. So you can like things even if you don't post. You know,
Also, very soon we're gonna be at PAX West. Emily and I will be in Seattle for 8 days, and Scott will join us shortly after we get there.
I can get there 2 or 3 days after.
Yep. PAX West. The mothership.
The real PAX.
We'll be there. We'll be home.
It's real soon.
And we're only doing one panel on Sunday, September 3rd, 6:30 p.m. in the Hippogriff Theater.
Yeah, our panel is competing with all these big time events. So I don't know how many people are going to come to it.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, one year we did literally the last panel.
And no one came.
At PAX South, a ton of people came.
Yeah, but at PAX West, our attendance has been dwindling.
Yeah, but
at East and South, we're still getting good attendances.
No, at West, as far as I can see, panel attendance across the board has dwindled.
Well, there's so much more panels, and they're spread out among different buildings.
Yep. So the secret is the first letter of the name of a panel room at PAX tells you where it is.
Every year, I'm afraid that we're actually going to get denied for panels at West because it's getting so bigger. It's big time.
Because there was a time when we would do 3 or 4 panels at a PAX.
Right, it's getting bigger time, or it's a bigger deal at PAX West than it is the other PAXs. But you know what? I saw a panel on the schedule. I went through a guidebook and added all the stuff I might want to see, and there was some real good stuff in there. Actually.
Oh yeah. Well, that chicken panel I went to at the last PAX was
there's a panel about the data science of.
Oh, I'm going to that one if I can.
But anyway, there was one that was let's rate the top 10 NES games of all time, and it's like. It's all right, if that's on the schedule, then I'm not worried about us getting on the schedule, right?
So I double-checked. This will be our 42nd panel at a PAX.
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot of panels. And
that's only the ones at PAXs, not at other conventions.
If you add up other conventions, we're over 400, so...
Over 400.
Yeah, we've done a lot of panels over the years. Mm-hmm. But because the name of the panel groom is Hippogriff, it starts with H, it's in the Hyatt.
Mm-hmm.
So go over to the Hyatt to see our panel. That's where we saw Tetris Guy so many years ago.
It's not in the Tetris Guy room. It's in the room further back than that.
Yep.
The smaller one, obviously.
I didn't look at the map. Is it smaller? I thought they were the same size. I'm not actually sure.
It's more squarish, and the other one's wider.
I can never tell.
I don't know what the capacity is.
I mean, in the old days...
It's big enough for us.
You can tell that panels have changed at PAXs. They don't really fill that often unless there's swag or big celebrities, because in the old days, our game mechanics and mechanism design panel filled this giant fucking room. And there's so many more panels now. PAX actually did a good job of spreading the crowd out. You can usually see a panel you want to see. Unlike the old days, you have to line up 3 hours to see anything.
Anyway, so the last thing we got to talk about is the book club book. So
you haven't updated the site yet. Is book club still doing?
I actually thought about doing it, and then I got busy and didn't do it. So the book club selection for the next book club episode, which will probably happen after PAX sometime in September or something, is the 5th season by N.K. Jemisin.
Every
not
age
spring,
must
not
come
summer,
to an end.
not March, not fall.
Stupid smart.
Right? This book, right, I have learned, won the Hugo Award 2 years ago. And the next book in the same series as this book by the same author won the Hugo Award this year. And the third and I think final book in this 3-book series just came out. And this is like I don't think anyone's ever won the Hugo Award twice in a row.
Old friends.
With the same book in the same series.
Old friends and people have been coming out of the woodwork in the GeekNights community because we mentioned this book as the book club to talk about it in the forum.
Well, I chose this book as the book club because it's such a big freaking deal. And this book was just optioned. They're gonna make a TV series on TNT.
Yep.
So this is like the hottest of the hotness of sci-fi fantasy type, literature novels right now.
I feel like this is gonna tide us over because now that the Last Prince of Nothing book is done,
I've only read like half a chapter and then I stopped to read Dune and now I'm gonna go back to it. Probably just start over because I forget.
I gotta finish the False Sun after because I finished the appendix in the Prince of Nothing book.
I didn't finish.
I read the whole appendix.
I didn't finish all the appendix.
I read every entry in the appendix.
But anyway, the point is, I cannot imagine this being not a miraculous, incredible, amazing book.
Yep.
I'm probably gonna end up just going 1, 2, 3 with all 3 of these books, and also, if they're all as great as I presume they are, I'll probably just read every work of N.K. Jemisin.
That's probably good because the No God it's gonna be a while before that book.
It's gonna be a while before I need to read any other books. So those books alone will be able to carry me over probably all through the winter and maybe into next year.
Yep. Though I did remember Lars Scott Backer actually read his 2 non-fantasy books.
I didn't.
They're good, actually. They're just really.
I got better things to do.
Well, so Disciple of the Dog is about a private detective.
Woof.
Yeah, he's just, and the only gimmick is he has perfect memory and no one else on Earth does. No magic, just he has literally perfect memory and that's it.
But I don't.
Yeah, no one else.
I couldn't even remember what's on the previous page in the book that I was reading.
And the other one, Neuropath, is basically all the same shit that happens in The Prince of Nothing, like that kind of stuff, but in a world where there is no magic and there aren't gods, so the answer is just, well, you're fucked. No free will.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, Cars. When I was a kid.
This is your idea.
I didn't have, well, we've never.
Are you sure we haven't done an episode about cars?
We did a show.
Such a fundamental aspect of life in modern society.
We did a show a long goddamn time ago where when we used to do our How to Not Suck At series called How to Not Suck at Driving, and I listened to a little bit of it. We seem to just talk about the technique of driving and how to not be a shitty driver.
All right, so the thing with cars is that before cars, it sucked to get anywhere. Like, to go somewhere was an Oregon Trail situation.
Well, that's how far you're going. If you were rich and you lived in, like, London, you just sit in a tiny box and people carry it on sticks.
Yeah, or eventually we invented trains, but even those, and boats, but even those would take a long-ass time to get anywhere. The car was such a tremendous invention, you could finally fucking go someplace alone without a whole bunch of people in a schedule on a train or a boat. Just on your own, you can go really far, really fast. You could actually get to, like, the, fucking California from New York, right? In, like, a reasonable amount of time, like a few days.
Now, of course, the problem is
an entire year-long journey.
In America, gas prices being cheap, coupled with mass-produced cars, meant we could just start building houses in places that were previously non-viable, and people would just commute into the cities.
And even after we invented planes, which let us go really far, really fast, like California in a few hours, cars were still much better for going shorter distances really fast.
I loved driving.
Driving
when I was a
as
kid.
an activity, either for transportation or racing or recreation. I still think driving is mad fun. I love playing racing games, and driving cars is fun.
But ever since I moved to commute in New York, I hate cars. I think I would love a future where driving a car is illegal.
Not only, while I still enjoy the heck out of driving as an activity to do, right? Even if I'm not even going anywhere, just driving a car, operating a vehicle is fun.
Yeah, whenever
right?
I
as
rent
much
one,
as I enjoy that,
I get this twinge of like, oh right.
The hassle and cost of having a car, even if I live in a place where I need the car, is not worth that hassle. The enjoyment doesn't make up for it. And also, today we have different technologies available for transportation. right? Besides car.
Better car, different car.
Right.
Most of those options don't exist unless you live in New York.
I'm just saying there are other options that exist if we would install
Big car
them.
called a bus.
Yeah.
A car that only goes on one lane called a train.
There are things we have if we would set
Sky
them
car.
up that are better than car, even though they just haven't been set up. So car is a forced choice in most places, but cars now, like back then, they helped the world. They helped. For all the damage they did in terms of murdering people and pollution and whatnot, they advanced society by just, finally making transportation possible. But now we're at a point at which the harm they are doing in their current form is greater than the benefit they are giving.
Yep.
So we really need to do something about car.
So at least from my personal experience, though, it's interesting. I think Uber, as much as Uber is horrible, I'm not talking about their business model or anything, but that sort of like really changed a lot of people's relationship with cars, I think, because the conventional wisdom has been forever, if you live in America, you must own a car.
Mm-hmm.
Full stop. The only exception was
I bought one as soon as I could buy one. It's like as I had to have one.
The only exception
was a necessity
was if you
of life.
both lived,
like food, water, car, house.
If you both lived and worked in New York City. Maybe Yonkers.
Yeah, when I moved here, I was like, I'm not going to need the car, but I ended up driving it here and bringing it here. And then after, 6 months or something, I was like, wow, I've had this car here, and I keep moving it back and forth across the street.
Yeah.
And I'm not using this car ever. I
used it once. I remember I drove to ComCon when I was on the Oticon staff. I borrowed your car, and I just drove there.
Yeah, there were occasional times when I needed the car, but most of the time, I was just moving it back and forth across the street, doing nothing. And so I got rid of it. I have a friend, actually, who has the car. He lives in New York. He leaves the car at his parents' house in Connecticut. And we're like, why the fuck do you still have that car? You use it like once in a blue moon. The parents take care of the car for him. And it's just like, what the fuck? Seriously? Really?
But at the same time,
just get rid of that shit.
The convenience, because there's times when a car would be useful. Like, for example, if I want to go skiing, there's the best way to go skiing, you just got to drive. You just rent a car. But renting cars sucks ass because the car rental industry acts like it's still the 90s to this day. Mm-hmm. Renting cars sucks. If I want to rent a car for the weekend in New York, right? Sure. There's a million car rental places that I can walk to from our apartment.
They'll just give you a car.
They all close early. And they're not open on Sundays. If I want a car for a weekend, I probably have to rent it in the morning before I go to work and park it somewhere and then go get it when I'm going to go to my thing. And then I have to drive home on Sunday. And then I have to park it somewhere and then pay because I can't actually drop it off or give it back to them until Monday. Mm-hmm. And also it costs a ton of money. Renting a car in New York City costs 8 times more than renting it even a little bit outside of New York City.
Now, there were, for a while, these services like Zipcar, which I guess still exists.
It did barely. I canceled my Zipcar because it's garbage now.
Yeah, but it used to be a big deal for a few years. We were making use of it, and it was totally...
Oh, my Zipcar used to be literally, we need a car? I literally just open an app on my phone, and then pick a car nearby, walk over to it, it would just open, and we just drive it. We used them all the time. They were great.
But now all of those services, for I don't know what reason,
I know exactly why
have failed, and
I know 100% why.
All right,
Uber.
So Uber has killed Zipcar?
I think Uber killed Zipcar. So
are you going to use an Uber to go to the grocery store, get groceries, and then go back?
So what happened was, as far as this is just my opinion,
or you get one Uber to go to the grocery store and another Uber to go home?
Yeah, that's what you do. That's cheaper than a Zipcar. The problem was Zipcar's model was, if you need a car for a few hours, use it. But as far as I can tell, hardly anyone in the cities used it for that because no one needed that.
No, I need the car for when I had the car, the times I used it were
driving up to Albany.
Yeah, go to my parents' house, go on a weekend trip, go, these sorts of things, the things that are too long to use a subway or a bicycle or anything short. If I'm going something short, I'd use a taxi even if I had the car because I don't want to have to park.
Zipcar would have made their money with people in New York using a car every week or so for an hour. But everyone, as far as I can tell, when I tried to reserve cars, they would reserve them for entire weekends or entire weeks and use it just like a normal rental car because, and I can't stress this enough, this is a defining characteristic of millennials, I think. I don't want to interact with a human. I don't want to go to a physical place. I want to go to a website, click a thing, and then have the service automatically appear. Mm-hmm. So Zipcar was great. I'd go to a website.
I was talking to someone today. It was making an eye doctor appointment, right? they were so afraid they didn't want to talk on the phone to anybody.
Remember us in RIT?
They were able to make an eye doctor appointment with and they were a new patient, right? Entirely by going on the internet. And then they received a phone call from the eye doctor to confirm the appointment.
I do all my
Obviously,
doctor stuff
I don't need to
online.
go to the eye doctor.
I don't call my doctor.
My eyes are perfect.
I go to a website and I schedule like my dental appointment, and it just works automatically. I get a calendar invite because otherwise I'll forget.
At my dentist, I made one appointment, the first one, over the phone, and then ever since then, you make the appointment for the next appointment on your way out. So, and then they text me when the thing is and such.
Remember at RIT? Well, Papa John's wasn't good, but when we could order it online, we started ordering there almost exclusively just because no one wanted to call on the phone.
The main thing with ordering things, like food especially,
the person on the other side doesn't understand you.
Yeah, you don't have to worry about hearing and the fuzziness of human language. It's like if the order is written down in text, it's like, it's exactly right, you know?
Yep. But anyway, I hate talking to rental car people when I rent cars at airports. Like, I hate every second of it. But Zipcar was great. And then people like me only used it on the weekends, which they probably lost money on that proposition. So they raised the prices to the point that it was cheaper to rent a regular car. And remember the one time we drove one out to Pennsylvania and then the car broke down? Like, we got a flat tire? They had to, like, get someone to fix it for me because that's how their business model worked.
And they're giving everyone free gas.
Yeah.
And free Easy Pass. I feel like they shouldn't.
No, it wasn't for Easy Pass. The Easy Pass passed through to your credit card.
Oh, okay. But the free gas, I feel like.
Because back then, gas wasn't cheap.
If I get a real rent-a-car, right, it's like I have to fill it with my own gas money. I don't know why they, like, Easy Pass. Like, I was totally happy that Zipcar included free gas.
Oh, you know why they did?
But
it was very simple.
Shouldn't they have, made you pay for your own fucking gas?
Because they wanted people to leave them generally full, and people would just fill it up if they just used another credit card. And they theoretically baked it into the price. But anyway, so they lost all the people who used the service pretty much just used it like I did, which wasn't good for them. And anyone who would use it the way that would actually make them money switched to like Uber. Because Uber is cheaper to get a car to drive you to the place, car to drive you home, than Zipcar to rent a car for hours in a set amount of time. And if you bring the car back late to its parking spot, you get in trouble and lose money and all that nonsense. So now there's really just no solution. People who are willing to give up on all moral character use Uber, and I just don't use cars unless I'm absolutely forced to.
Well, I mean, even regardless of the economic model of the car, owning, renting, Ubering, taxi, whatever, right? Using a car hurts the world. You're poisoning the air. You're burning fuel.
Flying probably hurts it worse.
You're putting your life at risk. Cars are super dangerous to be in.
Flying to PAX is probably way worse for the environment than driving anywhere.
I'm just saying, like, it's way in terms
just saying, if you care about the Earth, flying to all these conventions.
I mean, I'm only doing it occasionally, right?
Oh yeah, but that all adds up.
People are driving a car fucking every day. You're comparing like a short car ride to like
okay, so you're gonna make that argument. My counterpoint is, without
the one flight to PAX doesn't pollute the earth more than a person driving their car every day all year commuting.
Without radically like forcing people to move massive eminent domain everywhere, there's no other way to get around in an efficient manner.
I'm just saying.
And I think self-driving cars kind of solve that, because if we get to the point to where we ban non-self-driving cars, then cars form a grid of information sharing and basically function like mass transit. So I feel like the window of humans individually owning
there's also just this inefficiency of cars, and like you take this big old car that could carry 4 people, uses a ton of space. You're just one person, right? But the car's gonna move itself, so it's a whole bunch of energy wasted because it's a giant car. Some people might. No one has those tiny cars. No one has those.
Yep.
Right. Motorcycles. It's like you're good. You're good. Right.
Yeah. You're just gonna die, but you're good.
Sure. Right. But and it's super inefficient. Like, you could have carpooled, right? The self-driving car, it's like a car sitting there not moving for a lot of the time, right? With self-driving cars, you're going to have the minimum number of needed cars when they'll drive all the trips necessary and no other extra
Plus,
driving.
you could, like, get rid of traffic lights eventually. Yep. Cars are just, like, automatic and efficient, and they're just a grid, and they just work.
But anyway, there's also the danger of cars, right? Flying is ridiculously safe, yet people are super afraid to fly. And when they get in a car, they're not afraid at all. So I gotta get in a car, I'm like, oh my God, I'm gonna die.
Yep.
I didn't used to be that way, but now it's just like I realized.
Well, part of that problem is
math-wise.
I wasn't sure how this show would go because we had no plan. I was worried because I figured we'd just get into like anecdotes, like cars we own and things. But with getting into a car, one of the biggest problems I have is that you and I are both extremely picky about driving technique and safety.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't fucking trust like almost anyone I know to drive a car that I'm in, let alone like cab drivers.
I mean, you know, Rim doesn't crash, except that one time he rear-ended people in the big pileup.
I was in a massive pileup. The back of my car was smashed and the front of my car was smashed.
I never crashed ever, but
you backed into a fucking car.
that was not. That's not like a crash. That was
a crash. You crashed your car.
It not
in fact, you crashed your car into another car that wasn't even moving. At least I was in a massive pileup.
An extremely tiny parking lot. Extremely tiny.
Are
right?
you gonna rationalize?
I pulled into a spot. Right, I ran in. I put some quarters in a laundry machine and ran out. I was in there for less than a minute.
All right.
I got in my car and I started backing out. When I parked.
Well, you didn't look?
When I parked, there were no other cars in the lot.
You drove a multi-ton vehicle.
I was in there for 1 minute.
You engaged a multi-ton vehicle to move without looking at what might be in its path.
I slightly bumped.
At least I was going the speed limit.
A new car had appeared in like the 1 minute I was in the laundromat.
I was going the speed limit on a freeway in tight traffic, and I came up over the crest of a hill, and there was an accident, and cars were stopped, and I hit the car in front of me, and the car behind me hit me, and the car behind him hit the other car.
The point is, when Rim drives a car, he hits the brake way late, so you're very uncomfortable to be in the car, even though it's safer than other people.
You say that? Actually, what I do is something subtly different.
I hit the brakes. If I see a red light way far away, I hit the brakes so far in advance. I accelerate so lightly. It's a nice, very slow curve up to speed and curve slowly down. So there's no, the car doesn't move back and forth. It's so smooth when I drive. I refuse to accelerate or decelerate rapidly if necessary.
So the real problem is that driving,
unless it's necessary,
driving in
Rim
the
speeds
city.
up real fast and then stops real fast.
Yeah, you know what? Drive in the city more.
It is very uncomfortable.
Though, in the city, that's kind of the only way to drive until you get down to the freeway. In the freeway, you just cruise control. Just whatever, just chill. But on the freeway, when you say that I'm braking late, what I really do is I am hyper averse to an accident. Like, I do not want to crash my car, and I'm like crazy, psychotically focused on not crashing my car.
Mm-hmm.
So, say I'm on the freeway, and I got cruise control on, and I'm just chilling, and in the lane ahead of me, like even way ahead, I see brake lights. I immediately do a quick hard brake to shed a significant amount of speed so that whatever is coming, I have shed speed early, because the longer you wait, the less safe chance you have to shed speed. So on the freeway, if there's even the hint of trouble ahead, I do a short, sharp brake to shed a bunch of speed, then assess the situation, and then decide if I'm going to engine brake or hold course or whatever I'm going to do. But I do recognize that sharp reaction is uncomfortable for everyone who's in the car except me.
Yes. Don't do that. That's bad driving.
Anyway, cars suck, and I hope that no human is allowed to drive cars on any public street at some point in my life.
Yeah, people seem to have... So the self-driving car, right? People seem to have this idea, like, if the cars aren't perfectly safe, if they ever hit anyone, then we can't use them yet.
Yeah,
it's
dude,
like,
you humans already drive like shit.
Right.
I would trust current self-driving cars over most of you.
That is totally, totally stupid. Here's how it works, right? Let's say a human driving a car has a 10% chance, every 10 trips, they're going to have an accident. Obviously, that's way high, but, I'm just using made-up numbers, right?
I don't know. Look at all the dents in cars parked in New York.
Right, but the point is, let's say a person driving a car has a 1 in 10 chance of an accident, right? If the self-driving car has a 0.9 in 10 chance of an accident, if it's even a fraction safer than a person, it's still flawed. If it's even a fraction safer than a human, multiplied by all the trips made in cars and all the miles driven, that adds up to less people dying.
Yep. Now you can't.
Right? If it's even 0.00001% safer than a person, it doesn't have to be 100% safe. If it's a fraction of a percent safer than a person driving, added up over all the trips and all the cars all over the world, many, 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 many lives will be saved. And the fact is, they're not a fraction of a percent safer than a person. They're even in their current shitty state.
So they are in some degrees, but on the other hand, there's certain kinds of situations still that they don't handle at all.
Yes.
That a human would.
But they are still, in their current shitty form, as shitty as it is, drastically safer than a human because, like, in those states, they don't have
Because remember, you're not, when we say human, we're not saying, like, someone who's a good driver. We're saying the average driver.
Yes. Even in
America,
even in those weird situations
where
those
the driving test consists of did you knock down less than 50% of the cones, you're good to go.
Right. Even in those situations, those self-driving cars are likely to just sit there doing nothing. They're not like going to drive around like crazy hitting people, right? So,
well, so there is a counter danger. Self-driving cars, probably because of shitty Internet of Things security, probably really easy to hack and kill
that's
people.
that's a different scenario.
But I think that actually might be a big danger.
Yes, but
because if you're going to assassinate someone, yeah, the car doors won't open and the car just drives off a cliff.
Yes, that is true. But given those numbers, I think it's amoral to allow people to drive and to not immediately say, starting right now, all cars must be self-driving.
Counterpoint, it would be more...
You're killing people by not doing that.
You would kill people if you made that mandate without buying everyone a self-driving car, because the people who would be hurt most by that are poor people who need to drive to get to their job because of the shitty way our society's set up.
You just make it so that all new cars, you can't just say everyone has to throw out your car now, right? That's a waste of resources, right? You say starting now or starting like next year, all new cars must be self-driving.
All new cars would cost more. Poor people couldn't afford them, but they could afford shitty used cars.
You force them, if that's the cars that people are forced to make.
No, you know what you do? You subsidize it so that poor people get free cars.
You do whatever it is you got to do. I don't care. We're talking about cars. We're not talking about economics here, right?
But economics is
the point is you are
just as intrinsic to the death calculus as accidents.
You cannot put a dollar value on the lives of the people who will not be killed by cars. Therefore, whatever the price is...
you can most definitely put a dollar value on it.
Whatever the price is, you pay it to make sure that all new cars are self-driving, right? Because even if it's $1 billion and it saves one life, pay it.
And on that note, we killed plenty of time, so...
Good. I want to go home. I'm hungry.